All right. Hello there. I'm Alexander Wales. What are we doing today? This is the Exclusions doc, continuing work. Might just be Wiffle today. Wiffle is mentioned mentioned very briefly. Is the place that Onion had his trial by adversity. I believe that is the only information within the text on it. It's an okay day. My Saturday is my wife and son usually go out, and I have some time into the house to myself, so it's a little bit easier to get some writing done and have some alone time. I'm going to use maybe an hour of it to write at least one exclusion, probably not two unless I feel like I'm on a roll. This is just pasted in a description of this. This is not what's going in here. But the only thing. Oh, thanks for the Prime, for the Bezos bucks. Okay, so we know Wiffle exclusion. I think it's going to be WH, which I like because then one of the four letters is a silent letter. Or not a silent letter, but like, I guess I don't say the H in Wiffle. It is major. No one lives there. And I'm gonna say this like interscene wars era. The Wiffle exclusion. Okay. So this is a place of I think okay, literally the only thing that's said about it within the text is that he Onion exits Windseared. How is this invocation? I mean, invocation magic I don't think has any I don't think invocation magic is ever mentioned in the story. Yeah, Candle of Invocation is probably the only. Yeah, it's the only mention of it in the story. So make up whatever I want for invocation magic. I think in this case it's. I don't know. This is also not canon. This description here. The idea when I originally wrote this, which was that invocation would be sort of like calling a thing into place. But I was driving to get some caffeine, get like a coffee for myself this morning, and I was thinking that it might be better if it's like a perpetually. Well, invocation. When I say invocation magic, I just mean someone says something and an effect happens, or you are calling to an element or something like that. Okay, I'm just gonna get started and then I will try to delve into ideas later. Yeah, well, invocation would be generalized and generic, which is kind of why I don't want to use it. Like, I kind of want to just change. So this whole thing is this was from a comment I made on Discord. It was never in a world building document or anywhere like that. So this can be changed if I want to, and I think I do. The question I try to ask myself before I start any of these is, what is um, what is cool about it? Here, I don't think the like specific magic that spawned it is necessarily going to be cool. I think instead, what's cool is the idea that there's just like this place of obscene amounts of wind, and here are the animals and plants that like live in the zone despite that. And here's why it's dangerous to a person. So that's all this exclusion zone needs to be. I'm hoping this is a shorter one because I feel like I've been doing longer ones. Starting word count 14,500. So hopefully we do like 1,000 words, and then I'll be done with this. And because I have some writing I need to do on dungeons. Would an air mage? An air mage would just be overwhelmed, I think. There is a question of how high the winds, like a question in my mind of how high the winds actually are. Well, the surface, but hurricane-powered winds. Cat 2 is okay. So we're in excess of 100 mile per hour winds. It's fine. Okay, mortal habitation beneath the surface is technically possible. I think that is fine. So you get the idea that if you really, really wanted to, you could like burrow down and be out of the winds and just not worry about it all that much. Okay. So this one's not going to have a history of magic, I don't think. Like the previous ones we did yesterday. The BEZ is this is like 5 paragraphs of like a history of magic and what it did and how this. Yeah, you could do air wards. The point of this zone is not to be like difficult to defeat. Like some zones you can think about like how would you go about defeating the zone, or how would you go about living safely in it, or if you needed to get to something you thought was in the zone, which I think is a great setup. So just as a brief tangent, I think a great setup for a story is, or at least like a narrative plot beat or whatever. Yeah, we want to see all the cool stuff. But a great plot beat for exclusion zones is This is the thing that we need. Unfortunately, it was last seen in an area that was subject to exclusion like 100 years ago or whatever. Technically, that happens in the story for Glassy Fields, but yeah, you got to get that MacGuffin. Okay. So what do I want to say here? It doesn't have to be invocation magic. The other idea I was going with was that this is like a feedback loop of high winds. I think we'll just go. I think we'll just do invocation magic, and it's gonna get like half a paragraph, and then that's it, and then it's just gonna be moving on from that. I do worry that eventually there's going to be too many feedback loops. That is the problem with this. Like from the start, there's a I'm not going to scroll up to it, but there's a thing in the header of that says that repetition is the biggest risk for this whole document. Is that if there are 80 of these, then like they each need to be unique, but they can't, like, because of the base concept, they can't be all unique. Um, yeah, and I don't want it to always be like research and exploitation. Sometimes I think it just needs to be either unexplained or something else. So what I was going to type here was that this recitation of power does not require. Okay, I'm going to try and write this, and okay, a tree grew weird, and the wind through it sounded enough like a wind summoning word. That is about what I was going to type, except that it was going to be that like these words of power just don't need to be said by a person, and that you could set up manual, not wind chimes, but not record. So this is 119 FE, which is internecine wars. Well, there's got a name for it. The period of wars following the collapse of the First Empire. Tools were eventually made to assist with I actually think I do need to go with the tree thing. I think the tree thing is better. It also implies that you could stop the Wiffle Zone if you killed enough trees, which is good. Yeah, something like wind chimes. Yeah, I will change this to a tree, but this is just our one paragraph of yeah later standing structures. But yes, I am stealing Plaza. I am stealing that the tree thing. Um, because the effects would. The thing I really like about that is that it ties the like flora and fauna angle more deeply into the nature of the zone. And if that's already the thing that I think is interesting, then we can go from that. Um, because these siege engine. Okay, that is even more than I wanted on that. Toward the history where the actual exclusion happens. If the effects increase, I mean, there are drop offs. Like, it's sort of the same with a car, where as you increase in speed, the air friction becomes more and more of a problem. And so there are limits on how fast a car can go as you put more and more energy into it. Diminishing returns Yes, specifically because of how much energy you're putting into the system. The Cat 2 is arbitrary. Um, it's like an amount that is really scary but potentially survivable. If you like crawl super low to the ground, you hold on to stuff. Um, you absolutely could get like ripped up by it, but also the wind speed is going to be different depending on where you are. Like if you're low to the ground or whatever. Um, okay, but like let's say that this invocation is made by a specific variety of tree. Um, that to me sounds like bioengineering or an act of war. Oh, when it says instrument was destroyed, that is just anything could destroy it. Like if you were using that as a siege instrument, then it's the job of some team on the opposing military or whatever to destroy that instrument. It's not necessarily that the instrument gets destroyed. Okay. I think this is actually going to be a result of breeding, the breeding exclusion, which we'll do at some point, where people. Um, and breeding does eventually get. Oh, I need to add 119 to the wiffle. Is it under W? Oh, Jesus Christ. Wiffle should be blue. Okay, invocation. Date 119. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and I'm going to check and see whether there is anything here for it. Just a mountain range. Okay. And then actually I need to go to breeding and then just make sure that my times don't match up there. Yeah, breeding is a separate event, but it'll be later in the timeline. Oh, that's the daily train coming by. I just need to check whether breeding is even in here. This is the thing I don't like about Work the Candle. Okay, no. Just making sure that the magic that there's not something said about the magic that I don't want to contradict here. But there's always like the wind does impart momentum to the air. This here, I'll make a note to include that. Okay, I'm going to change my template before I'm done here. There are a lot of references to breeding programs, yeah. There are a number of exclusion zones where it's not, like the exclusion zone is a bad place, and then the area around the exclusion zone, for various reasons, is also not good. Because effects are, yeah. It's still windy and then dies off naturally. Apostrophe here. Okay. Alright, I'm actually moving this time back a little bit. We're going to give it, well, trees take a while to grow. Okay, we're going to say this is like bamboo, in that it grows super fast. So that gives it 16 years to kind of spread around and then eventually hit some critical mass. To the area surrounding the early and move this back like three. Okay, I wanna, for the sake of plausibility, like it's not super important, but like this is the kind of thing that you could have prevented if you had seen it coming. Which, yes, debatably, the infinite library should have seen it coming. But the thing is, even once it like reaches this like feedback level, then it's still only like a local incident that you could potentially do something about, if you had like an organized response. And yes, I do try to think about the infinite library for each of these, but I also, a lot of these are happening before Raven is in charge of it, and it's poorer control and different leaders at the library and stuff like that. Yeah. Perpetual heavy winds in the area. Yes, they only make wind because they're only bred to make wind. It is one of those things where, I mean, okay, there are two things that you could say here. One is they were only bred to make wind, and that's all they'll ever make. The other thing you could say is that the ones that make the other stuff is more lethal to plants. The exact like bounds of it, like you can imagine that if there were trees that produced fire, right? This would be quite bad for trees. Fan palms. I think the shape of the trees is not going to be specified. The problem with fan palms is that I think that they... Alright, let me look at a fan palm. Do these do well in heavy winds? Because when I think of these trees, I'm thinking of a windswept juniper or something like that. I'm thinking of something like this that like has that kind of thing. No, I know it's a pun. No, I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of like exactly this type of thing, because that's what a tree looks like if it's just subjective to heavy winds for its entire life. And I think this looks super neat. That is my kind of tree. Yeah, you like trees that look like they've been windswept. Over time, as more of the trees grew, that's a good idea. Next exclusion, like showing some influence of the library. the wind speed increased, eventually leading to widespread loss of, here, we'll just say topsoil. This is also a exclusion that gets more dangerous and extreme over time, which I like. We need wind eroded rock. I'm just gonna delete that for now. Okay, over time, as more of the trees grew, the wind speed okay. That is fine for history. Like there's a lot of history. There's like from the time of exclusion to the present day of the story. Is like 400 years. But so like presumably like you can have an exclusion zone that just does not affect that many people. And so like there's always a question of why doesn't someone like do something about the exclusion zone, and usually the answer is it would cost a lot and you'd get not that much benefit from it. And some of them that like it's beyond the abilities of people to do this. You possibly, if you killed all the trees, you would get the zone back, but then you'd just have like a bunch of windswept rock and a bunch of plants that would be dying because they didn't have the winds that they needed. The majority of the WHFE or easy, right? Wheeze, get it? Okay. Would calming the weather be worth it? Let me look at my map. Okay, so Whiffle is there. I don't remember the scale exactly. I don't think that it would be like there's a mountain here to protect New Odin. I would have to do some calculations. I'm gonna leave it here for now, but I would need to do calculations about wind speed. I don't think I'm gonna actually say what the wind speed is in the zone, but I mean, you could look at hurricane weather maps. The question is like, how high is the wind speed? What does that translate to as this like moving air leads? Is there just like a permanent current of air coming off? Like how high up is the wind and stuff like that. There's a lot of physics that I don't feel like doing. And because of that, I'm going to just assume that it works somehow with certain numbers. And that's just me being lazy. Let's say remove the soil. No, we'll say the large majority. Yeah, because technically there could be soil that's like packed down in a pocket. Be 10, say 10 years per generation. That's very fast growth for a tree, or very small trees. That's fine, but like 10 years to first seeding for 400 years would be 40. The wind is not very high up is another thing, because one of the big problems with the hurricane is that it's so incredibly much power behind it, and that power stretches like a mile up into the air, I think. And so it's not just the wind at the ground, which is what you really care about. It's the wind up above that's contributing all that energy. Here, we'll say robust. If there were too many... I'm going to say ground minimal ground nutrients to survive. This is just going to be a full paragraph on these woodwinds. Woodwinds typically dig their roots into cracks in the rocks. Okay, need effects that go outside. Yeah, I am just doing this one today because I am slightly behind on dungeons. Or not behind, but like worried about hitting my Monday deadline with promptness. Um, and the regulatory boundary of the zone. Okay, I said... Sure, fine. They vary with turbulence. I think that was grammatically correct, but whatever. Here is needed a section on what these adaptations are. We want to show rather than just telling. I mean, it's a document, so you can tell all you want, but examples are always good. They make things feel more alive. Parasitic plants are common, matching themselves. Oh, dwarves, that's a good idea. Sure. This whole paragraph would need to go then. That's fine. Okay, and see, double check what I said up here. All right, I think that's fine. And I think I'm going to stop here. That's 55 minutes, not quite an hour. So we'll do groove casting next time, and something else. I am generally happy with this entry as it stands. Obviously I've been doing, or I will do second pass for all these. But got one done. I do need to work on dungeons. Oops, nope. This should be red. Wiffle and G is for groove casting. That will be next time. And what else? What else am I like interested? No Verity chapter. Verity just got a chapter. It'll be like 5 chapters before she gets another chapter. And you just skip the Verity chapters. There's nothing important happens in them anyway. So, all right. I think then it's gonna be time for Risen Lands. Oh, this was done. This one's done. So, this also needs a date. I'm gonna just do the bookkeeping now because I hate bookkeeping. Okay, 79 FE, NFE, and then mark it here. Okay, so what's our ending word count? Our ending word count, yeah, it's like 600 words over an hour. That's not great. Whatever. It's done, and move on to something else. What did I say? Risen Lands. Which I believe is RL easy. I don't know if that's in the work. No. That is totally fine. I think these designations then this one is called Ravenous. And this one we already know everything about, so should be easy. Neither of these are in person. I believe both are major. Sorry, this is this boring bookkeeping stuff that is necessary for a document like this. Excluded late in the Second Empire, which is known. And I'm actually going to groove casting. It's mentioned there as excluded. Control-Shift-V. Okay. No, the canonical exclusion numbers do mean I need to extrapolate date, in theory. And so I have been trying to do that. And that's fine. Like, in theory, my spreadsheet would also include those numbers somewhere. And I'd make sure everything lines up properly there. But I think so far it does. Okay, and then Arisen Lands is actually on the timeline. 519. And then put that in the dock. Oh, bookkeeping. And it's already in the dock. Okay. Late Second Empire, I'll decide on that later. All right. Just note for myself. Okay, that is the stream for today. I think that this Woodwinds one worked good. The Wiffle has everything I want in it, but maybe when I come back to it, I'll find something more. And then no stream tomorrow because it's Sunday, which is family day. I spend it with my wife and son. We all do family stuff all together. I mean, we do that during the week as well, but we'll like have brunch and go to the park and stuff. So this Ravenous and in theory Risen Lands depends on how I'm feeling, depends on how far I am behind on dungeons, or how far I feel I am behind on dungeons. But that is the stream for today, and we'll get to this stuff on Monday. All right, thanks for being with me for this. See you later.